trade in the history of the NBA? Of course, the Dallas Mavericks sent him to the Lakers. Yes, the Dallas Mavericks got awarded with Cooper Flag. I get that, but at the time, no doubt about it, the Dallas Mavericks got crushed in the dust. Dallas Mavericks were furious, but it's scary to hear the insight, the take that Stephanie White's got involving an all-world kind of superstar player like Luka. If this is how she feels about somebody like Luka not being in a
Analysis of recent commentary from Stephanie White regarding elite player management has generated significant concern among basketball enthusiasts, particularly those following Caitlin Clark's career trajectory. White's observations about team dynamics with and without superstar players have raised questions about her coaching philosophy and approach to managing transcendent talents. The discussion emerged following Indiana's disappointing performance against Golden State, where the team appeared lifeless despite Clark's return from injury. The early morning game time created additional challenges, with Golden State playing at 9 a.m. local time while managing to dominate the contest from start to finish. During broadcast commentary for a Dallas Mavericks game, White's analysis of team performance without Luka Doncic revealed concerning perspectives about superstar player utilization.
lineup, being on the court, then she's not the right coach. All right? And it echoes what her mentor said about the Indiana Fever being more dangerous than without Caitlin Clark. And I really do wonder. That was in my video earlier, by the way. Carolyn Peck of ESPN is her mentor. She played for Carolyn Peck. And I've got to be honest. Did Stephanie White say that?
Her enthusiastic description of improved ball movement and player involvement during Doncic's absence mirrors similar comments she has made regarding Indiana's offensive flow without Clark on the court. White's commentary highlighted increased ball movement, enhanced player participation, and more dynamic offensive execution when the primary playmaker was unavailable. This perspective suggests a preference for motion-based systems that distribute responsibility among multiple players rather than featuring individual talents as focal points of offensive strategy. The philosophical approach demonstrated through these comments aligns with traditional basketball concepts that emphasize team-oriented play over individual dominance. However, critics argue that such thinking fails to recognize how generational talents can elevate overall team performance when properly utilized within strategic frameworks.
And I've got to be honest. Did Stephanie White say that to Carolyn Peck in a conversation? I think we're more dangerous without Caitlin Clark. I don't know. I'm just speculating out loud, and that's complete speculation. But nonetheless, if you think these people don't still talk to each other all the time, you're out of your mind. This was Caitlin Clark yesterday. Come on, let's have some emotion.
Historical analysis of successful coaching careers suggests that elite coaches adapt their systems to maximize available talent rather than forcing exceptional players into predetermined roles. The most accomplished coaches throughout basketball history have demonstrated flexibility in building around transcendent performers while maintaining competitive balance. The connection between White's commentary and her mentor Carolyn Peck's similar observations about Indiana has fueled speculation about shared philosophical approaches. Peck's assertion that Indiana operates more effectively without Clark directly contradicts conventional wisdom about maximizing superstar talent impact. Clark's visible frustration during the recent loss, captured on video encouraging teammates to display more emotion, reflects the challenging dynamics created when coaching philosophy conflicts with player capabilities.
Come on, let's have some emotion. Let's have some emotion during this loss. The team was lifeless. It feels like Stephanie White sucked the life out of this team. And I got to tell you, I will show you the new WNBA ad involving Caitlin Clark. It's badass. It's a year or two late, but it's badass nonetheless. I got to tell you, I wonder
Her leadership attempts suggest awareness of systemic issues that extend beyond individual performance concerns. The new WNBA promotional campaign featuring Clark demonstrates the league's recognition of her marketing value and entertainment appeal. The advertisement emphasizes her dynamic playing style, creative ball handling, and ability to generate excitement through individual brilliance. This marketing approach contrasts sharply with the systematic constraints she faces during actual game situations. White's comments during All-Star festivities about coaching preferences and player management styles provided additional insight into her philosophical approach.
I wonder, I don't know why Stephanie White stepped aside multiple times this year. I don't know what was going on. I haven't speculated, but I just wonder how happy she is really coaching this team. I do wonder because, look, there's a ton of pressure on her. There is, rightfully so. This is America's team, and this is America.
Her admiration for coaches who emphasize three-point shooting and aggressive play suggests awareness of modern basketball trends, while questioning her willingness to implement such strategies consistently. The tension between entertainment value and systematic basketball becomes particularly apparent when examining viewership patterns and fan engagement levels. Observers have noted decreased excitement during games compared to previous seasons, despite team success in certain areas. The risk of creating unwatchable basketball represents a significant concern for organizational revenue and fan retention. Entertainment value directly impacts attendance, merchandise sales, and broadcast ratings, all critical components of franchise financial health and league-wide growth objectives.
Rightfully so. This is America's team, and this is America's sweetheart, Caitlin Clark. She's going to mess this up. The franchise is going to mess it up. And I got to tell you right now, I think Indiana is the best place for Caitlin Clark. I do. In the Midwest, Iowa's not that far away. I mean, the only other place I would believe that Caitlin Clark would be is wonderfully accepted would be Dallas because of, well, it's Dallas. All right. If they had a franchise in Houston, I'd say.
Market analysis suggests that Clark's optimal utilization requires coaches willing to embrace pick-and-roll heavy offenses, creative screening actions, and systems that feature her as the primary decision-maker. These elements align with modern NBA trends and successful WNBA franchises that maximize their star players' impact. The geographic considerations surrounding Clark's career placement have generated discussion about optimal market fits and organizational cultures. Midwest locations offer natural demographic alignment with her background, while larger metropolitan areas might provide enhanced commercial opportunities and competitive resources. The speculation about potential trade requests reflects broader concerns about organizational direction and player satisfaction.
If they had a franchise in Houston, I'd say the same thing there. But in that middle America part of the country or in the South, like if they had a team in Florida or someplace like that, I could see it as well. I think this is the right spot for her. I cannot imagine that they are literally going to stick with a coach and allow Caitlin Clark to get so frustrated that she wants a trade out of town. And that's what's going to happen. If they're not careful.
Elite athletes typically seek environments that maximize both individual success and championship potential, creating pressure on franchises to demonstrate commitment to optimal utilization strategies. White's coaching background includes experiences that may not directly translate to managing generational talents who require specialized strategic approaches. The transition from traditional basketball roles to superstar management represents a significant challenge that requires philosophical adaptation and tactical flexibility. The coaching staff faces mounting pressure to demonstrate tactical evolution while maintaining their preferred systematic approaches. Finding balance between motion-based principles and individual feature opportunities represents perhaps the most critical challenge facing the organization moving forward.
She's going to ask for a trade. Stephanie White, right here, talking about Luka.
A wrist sprain in that game and has been out since. And that puts a lot on the plate of players like Spencer Dinwiddie, who just came in, who finds Marshall for the corner three.
Well, you see the Mavs just play differently without Luka on the floor. He's a guy who's high usage rate, the ball's in his hands. When he's not on the floor, that ball is moving, it's popping, multiple players getting involved in action, and everyone's stepping up.
Okay, you
Fan sentiment analysis reveals growing frustration with strategic limitations that appear to constrain Clark's natural abilities. Social media discussions increasingly focus on systematic concerns rather than individual performance issues, suggesting broader awareness of coaching philosophy conflicts. The upcoming schedule provides opportunities for strategic adjustments and tactical experimentation. Observers will monitor closely for evidence of increased pick-and-roll usage, enhanced screening actions, and greater emphasis on featuring Clark as the primary offensive initiator. Industry experts suggest that resolution of these philosophical tensions will likely determine both Clark's future satisfaction and the organization's long-term competitive trajectory.
Like this. You're wondering, like, how did she see Caitlin Clark play like this and decide, you know what, nah, we're going to build through Ari McDonald. Stephanie White, in the years of like 2015-ish, she went to Vanderbilt. And she tried to play an up-tempo offensive game, and they were terrible. They were terrible. She couldn't win a game. And then she goes to the Connecticut Sun and says, screw offense. And by the way, that
the coaching staff must demonstrate willingness to evolve their approach while maintaining defensive intensity and team chemistry that has shown effectiveness in certain situations. Stephanie White's coaching approach demonstrates unwavering commitment to defensive-oriented, tempo-controlling basketball regardless of personnel or circumstances. Her systematic implementation of this philosophy appears unlikely to change despite roster composition or individual player strengths that might suggest alternative approaches. White's coaching background provides context for her current strategic preferences. During her tenure at Vanderbilt around 2015, she attempted up-tempo offensive systems with poor results.
And says, screw offense. And by the way, that Connecticut Sun team are good offensive players. Bree Jones is a good offensive player. And I know, obviously, she didn't play in the 2023 season, but Beck Allen's a good offensive player. DeWanna Bonner is a good offensive player. Alyssa Thomas is a good offensive player. Especially DeWanna Bonner 2 years ago. Who else are good offensive players on that team? Veronica Burton, who killed the Fever yesterday, rode the bench for that team. Olivia Nelson-Ododa rode the bench for that team. Like, it's not like they didn't have the players. They had Natisha Heidemann as well.
This experience apparently influenced her subsequent philosophy, emphasizing defensive structure and controlled pace over offensive creativity. Her time with Connecticut demonstrates consistent application of defensive-first principles even when possessing talented offensive players. The 2023 Sun roster included skilled scorers like Brianne, January, Rebecca Allen, DeWanna Bonner, and Alyssa Thomas. Yet White implemented systems that prioritize defensive consistency over offensive exploitation. That Connecticut team featured players who later excelled in different systems, including Tiffany Hayes and Ty Harris, who became key contributors for Las Vegas. The roster also included bench players like Olivia Nelson-Ododa and Natisha Heidemann, who possessed offensive capabilities but received limited opportunities under White's system.
The players. They had Natisha Heidemann as well. Like, they had Natisha Heidemann. Let's see the 2023 Connecticut Sun. And the 2023 Connecticut Sun team. This team had Beck Allen, DeWanna Bonner. Dejanay wasn't where she was right now. They had Tiffany Hayes. So they had arguably the two best players on the Valkyries right now. They had Ty Harris. Bree Jones is out missing. They had DeWanna.
Despite having multiple offensive weapons, Connecticut's approach under White emphasized grinding, defensive-oriented basketball that limited possessions and scoring opportunities. This philosophy guided them to semifinal appearances but ultimately proved insufficient against more dynamic offensive teams like New York. Current media reports suggest organizational commitment to playing Clark off ball more frequently, with Ari McDonald assuming primary ball handling responsibilities. White's public statements frame this as providing Clark with cleaner shots, though this reasoning conflicts with Clark's demonstrated shooting preferences and capabilities. Clark's effectiveness operates primarily through on-ball creation rather than catch-and-shoot opportunities.
Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, Olivia Nelson-Ododa, and Natisha Heidemann. They had all of those players. Did they not have Veronica Burton that year? Why did I think they had Veronica Burton that year? Oh, they picked her up off waivers, didn't they, last year? I think they might only picked her up off waivers. But either way, that was their team. Sorry, you take away Veronica Burton, but give them Tiffany Hayes, who was even better.
Her shooting percentages and overall impact improve significantly when she initiates offense rather than receiving passes in predetermined positions. The emphasis on off-ball usage contradicts these performance indicators. Tactical limitations within current systems compound these strategic issues. Handoff actions face increased officiating scrutiny, limiting traditional methods for creating off-ball opportunities. Screen setting throughout the roster lacks consistency and timing necessary for effective off-ball systems.
Tiffany Hayes was even better. They had Heidemann, Hayes, Beck Allen, Dwana, Bonner, and AT. And they were, they made the semifinals and got destroyed by New York Liberty. They beat the Minnesota Lynx without Alana Smith, without Courtney Williams, without Natisha Heidemann. And they beat a very average Lynx team in the first round in 3 games. And they then went to the puke basketball last year and got to the same. They played puke ball. And she had that team with good offensive players.
Natasha Howard's engagement levels appear to fluctuate based on Clark's usage patterns. When Clark operates as primary initiator, Howard's defensive focus and offensive involvement diminish noticeably. This dynamic creates additional complications for implementing effective offensive systems. White's post-game comments about utilizing multiple ball handlers reveal misunderstanding of optimal defensive strategies against elite players.
He had that team with good offensive players and had them playing puke ball. And now it's that Caitlin Clark is a shooting guard thing. So it's like Caitlin Clark returns tonight. Fever are giving a superstar a fresh new look by playing her off the ball more, with Ari Medal taking over general duties. Coach Stephanie Weiss, the shift could help unlock cleaner shots. Dude, Caitlin Clark is better shooting off the dribble than off the catch. Like, I don't know what she means by cleaner shots. Like, I don't know what she means. Nobody on this team sets screens. First of all, you can't run DHOs in the
Teams typically assign their best defenders to primary offensive threats, creating mismatches elsewhere on the court through this attention. Historical examples demonstrate teams dedicating significant defensive resources to neutralizing Clark's impact. Players like Kalia Copper and Kayla McBride experienced reduced offensive production when assigned to guard Clark extensively. This defensive attention created opportunities for teammates when Clark maintained primary offensive responsibilities.
First of all, you can't run DHOs in the WNBA anymore because every single DHO is a foul, according to referees. So you can't run DHOs anymore. You can't run DHOs. So that's gone. Kelsey Mitchell is not connected on a screen this year. Natasha Howard just seems like she just checks out when Caitlin Clark is on the floor. When Caitlin Clark is not on the floor, Howard's fine. When Caitlin Clark is on the floor, she just completely checks out. She just completely checks out. But, like,
current defensive approaches exploit organizational reluctance to feature Clark prominently. Teams can apply full-court pressure or assign lesser defenders to Clark, knowing the coaching staff will redirect offense away from these situations rather than using them advantageously. Yesterday's game illustrated these tactical shortcomings when Las Vegas assigned Kayla George to guard Clark without consequences. Previous seasons would have featured immediate exploitation of such defensive mismatches through pick-and-roll actions and transition opportunities.
Completely checks out. But, like, you've now got Stephanie White after the game, when it showed that it was a disaster, saying, I'm playing Caitlin Clark. I like the ability to do 2 primary ball handlers on the floor, being able to give the opposition different look. Quite frankly, for C, especially not having to have her play under as 94 feet, we'll continue to work on that. Do you realize what teams do? Teams regularly put their best defender on.
Effective pick-and-roll execution requires complementary movement and spacing from supporting players. Las Vegas demonstrates proper blitz coverage responses through coordinated movement and quick decision-making when opponents apply pressure to their ball handlers. When teams blitz Veronica Burton at half court, Las Vegas players immediately create spacing advantages through lifting movements and cutting actions. This systematic response generates open shots consistently against aggressive defensive pressure.